Assalamu alaikum. Hello everyone. Welcome to Let's Remove This. We're starting now. Salam salam. I see a couple of comments for YouTube, and it seems we have everyone on YouTube. This is basically from Cameroon. Hey Joseph, how are you doing? We have Habib here. Now Zakaria. Salam Huda. And Spy himself كان معنا اليوم. And Bayardo. Hello Bayardo. Nice to meet you. إلا كنتو كتسمعوني مزيان, if you can hear me, please let me know so we can start. Hello Yasin Koder. بولحية. يس قولوا لي واش كتسمعوني مزيان باش إلا كان كلشي مزيان نقدروا نبداو. Great, thank you. Okay, مرحبا بكم اليوم. Today we are in the first event ديال جي كازابلانكا. بغينا نبداو easy on us, easy on everyone. Virtual meeting, and since Bayardo is here with us, I'll be speaking English. So first event and virtual event, just a quick talk about rendering on the web, just to get us all started. Thank you all for joining today. The event will be recorded on Facebook and YouTube. We are also streaming on Twitter and LinkedIn. If you are there, great. As always, a little bit about GDG, but I think most of you know about GDG. It's a global community, developer community. We have GDGs all around the world. We have GDGs in Morocco, specifically in Casablanca, Rabat, Tangier, Agadir, Bni Mellal, El Jadida, Qnitra, Marrakech. So we are all over the place. If you happen to be in another city, meet your GDG folks. Great. We also do events around the year, and we'd love to hear what you are interested in, and let's make it happen. We have a Facebook group if you'd like to join and have interesting discussions there. And today we are talking about reading strategies on the web. The web, we browse the web every day, and we develop for the web every day for the front-end interested people. Yeah, my name is Omar Hums. I'm a front-end engineer. You can contact me on LinkedIn and Twitter. Just search for Omar Hums and you'll find me. Let's get started. First, we hear a term rendering باش ما نتلفوش نعرفوا لي terms ديالنا الفوكابولير مزيان نعرفوه باش ملي نكونوا كنهضروا ما نتلفوش. First thing, what is rendering? In my last talk, the first start, we talked about all about واحد البارت هي ديال how the main flow ديال البراوزر. So from clicking واحد link and then you enter, what happens behind the scenes in the browser. The first thing that happens is the browser gathers resources. كاع داك ال HTML CSS JavaScript les images كاع داكشي اللي كيحتاج البراوزر he'll go and start fetching all of those resources. After he has the specifically the HTML, he starts constructing the DOM tree. DOM tree stands for Document Object Model. Stands for the Document Object Model. هي واحد representation ديال كاع هذوك HTML nodes او لا tags as an object. من بعد, as an example, here is a tree of DOM elements. So ملي كيتلود داكشي نورمالمون انا تيكون عندي الكود HTML وسط منه باليز ديال الهاد حداها ديال البادي. الهاد فيه كذا 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 كذا, البادي فيه كذا كذا. سو هذه هي الريبريزنتيشن ديال الدوم تري كتكون في البراوزر. next step هي render tree. شنو هو الفرق ما بين دوم تري و render tree؟ دوم تري كيكون فيها كاع نودز, سكريبتس, ايميجز, هاد الميتا تايتل لينك اللي كيكونوا في الهيد. but render tree كيكون فيها غير لي زيليمون اللي كنشوفوا حنايا اللي غادي يترندراو, the elements that we can see on the browser. So for example, in the DOM tree we can see the head, but on the render tree there will be no head because by default we don't see the head. On the body element we might see the h1, the p tags, the divs, etc., but we won't see first the description because we don't see anything, and we might not see other elements due to some JavaScript or CSS loading. For example, if this div has a display none, we will not see the div in the render tree. The next step, when we have the render tree, all of the elements that are that should show to the user, we construct or lay out this render tree. What do we mean by this? Is, for example, in a typical website, كيكون عندنا الهيدر with a logo and some links. So what do we do in this step? We take this element, we say, yeah, this is it's going to be on the top left corner of the page, and then we place the links beside it. After that, we're going to have a big image with some text on it. After that, we have a list of blogs or something. So on the render tree يكون عندنا elements that we need to show. On the layout, on this step, the layout, we say this element should be here, this element should be here. On the next step, we actually paint. So paint meaning the browser starts putting the pixels to the user to be shown. شنو هو الفرق ما بين layout? What's the difference between layout and paint? So for layout, for the layout, we just say it's gonna be here. But on the paint step, we actually put the element there. You might say that the layout is the blueprint, البلان. layout هو البلان. والpaint we actually كنحطوا البوصلاين او الياجور باش نبنيو ديك الطرف. So for the layout is the blueprint, the paint is actually building the building. I will share these slides and you can find the link for the original slides of where I got this slide from. Before we go to the terminology, if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. If you are in Facebook or YouTube or other platforms, please let me know and I'll answer them as soon as I can. If all good, I will move on to some terminology again. But question was, sorry, what is rendering? rendering is basically all of these steps that we saw here is the rendering. When we say the browser rendered this page, is browser got the resources needed, constructed the DOM, rendered the tree, laid out the render tree, and then painted. So that's and we will be talking about the first render. Subsequent renders يقدر يكونوا فيهم some ماشي ما كنبداوش من الاول، كان actually كنحطوا لتحت شويه. If you have any questions, please let me know. I don't know if you see the cursor. I will try to make it bigger. Give me, yeah. Okay. Moving on to the terminology. So here are some terms. We will get lost, but the first one is time to first byte. علاش هنحتاجوا هاد terms before. So إلا عقلنا في Bayardo said, is it all render we have? I don't understand صراحة the question. Can you repeat it, please? So on the main flow, we said that we have some steps, and ملي كنوصلوا في هذيك steps كاع هذوك steps take time كياخذوا الوقت. So some of those steps are calculated by the browser. He says, for example, the first one is time to first byte, seen as the time between clicking a link and the first bit of content coming in. So إلى رجعنا this step, so when you click on a link and then the browser starts gathering the resources, أول bit, the first bit that we get, that's the time it takes. That's the time to first byte. The first paint is the first time any pixel becomes visible. So head time from the page loads till head البينت غير كتبدا. When it starts, that's the whole time of the first paint. That's the time that it takes for the first paint to happen. First contentful paint, the time when requested content, article body, or etc. becomes visible. So we might have, for example, واحد الهيدر اللي it shows, but it's not the first it's not a contentful paint. We will typically wait for a block of text or a big image that fills the screen. تما كنسميوها FCP أو لا first contentful paint. TTI, time to interactive, the time at which a page becomes interactive, events wired up, etc. So, for example, بعض المرات we load the page and we start immediately clicking on something, but it doesn't work. Any button ما كتخدمش، مثلا login or something ما كتخدمش. علاش؟ حيت جافا سكريبت باقي ما تلوداش، باقي ما الايفنت ديال اون كليك باقي ما خدمش. سو هذاك التايم ديال from loading the page till time to interactive كاع the events are wired, we can interact with the page. That's the TTI, or time to interactive. هادو some terms related to the performance ديال واحد لاباج، هادو related to rendering. كنا شفنا rendering، هذاك steps كاينين some terms related to that. كاينه SSR, we will talk about it. It's a strategy ديال rendering بوحدها, but server rendering basically means rendering a client side or universal app to HTML on the server. هذاك HTML كامل it's constructed او عندنا هذاك HTML كيترندر اولا كيتجينيرا في السيرفر. We'll talk about this in details after. CSR is client-side rendering an app in a browser generally using the DOM. Again, we'll talk about this, but briefly. ملي تيجينا ال HTML كيكون خاوي تقريبا خاوي، ما تنعمروه حتى الكلاينت سايد. ملي جافا سكريبت ديالنا هو اللي تيعمر لنا لاباج. الجافا سكريبت is the one responsible in client side rendering for the HTML to be filled. Next one is rehydration, voting up JavaScript views on the client side clients such that they reuse the server rendered HTML's DOM, tree, and data. For example, in React, we Next.js, sorry, we have some HTML, ولكن again هذوك الايفنتس و navigation etc باقي ما توايراوش. هذيك الريهايدريشن كيجينا ال HTML هو هذاك، ولكن رياكت كيدير واحد الريهايدريشن كيعاود يرندري كاع داكشي في الكلاينت سايد عاده تخدم العاب. Next is pre-rendering. Pre-rendering means basically running a client-side app at build time to capture its initial state as static HTML. Typically في server-side rendering العادي كيكون كنصيفط ريكويست كترجع عندي لاباج واجده. فالبري rendering كاع هذوك لي باج كيكونوا ديجا ريندر. Let's take an example. في ال SSR كنصيفط request. I send the request to a server. The server thinks a little bit, gets some data, constructs the HTML, and then returns it to the user. في ال pre-rendering كن pre-rendering يعني كاع لي باج اللي عندنا. مثلا if I have a blog, I have 5 articles, I already have all of the pages already in my server. So the user requests a page, I get it to them immediately. Pre-rendering كيكون عندي ديجا لا باج، عندي 5 بلوجز في السيت ديالي، كاع دوك لي باج عندي ال HTML ديالهم، كي ريكويستي اليوزر شي حاجه كنرد عليه. و في الاس اس ار ما كيكونوش عندي HTML، كتكون عندي غير الداتا في الباطون و وات ايفر. كي ريكويستي اليوزر كنكونستراكتي ال HTML عاد كنصيفط. We will talk about all of these what do you call them, terms in the next slide. Now let's get to some rendering strategies. The first one, اول حاجه البازيك اللي كانت من 1900 ورجع للور شويه، هي static website static files. كيكون عندي literally HTML فيه tags ديالي etc, which is rare these days الا كنت يلاه بادي HTML CSS. So you construct your pages by hand. كدير ال HTML tag، البادي tag، بغيتي شي حاجه كديرها. ما كاين لا components لا style components لا CSS لا والو. We have all our files, we modify them line by line basically. How do we host this? We upload it to a server. We assign a domain and that's done. If we want to change, we modify the file and then we upload it. That's easy. Now that's the old way of doing things, is generating page by page by hand. And after that, we had some tools called static site generators that help us generate these pages. So, for example, Hugo, Eleventy, and Jekyll, we have a database somewhere or data as Markdown or something. They help us generate all of those pages. One good thing for this is we don't need any server running to respond to the user input, but we just upload those files in a server somewhere for a CDN. But we don't have dynamic data, and we don't have interactivity. For dynamic data, if we want to change something, we redeploy. We generate all of these pages, and then we redeploy. For interactivity, we have it's either links or forms or something. We don't have much interactivity. ما عندناش الداتا ديناميك اللي كنا بغينا نشونجيو شي حاجه وغادي تشونجا بوحدها. لا كنجيريو فين ما نشونجيو شي حاجه خاصنا نعاودو نجينيريو كاع لي باج ونابلودو. Next we have NPAs, multi-page apps. هنا بدينا كندخلو في الدايناميك side. Laravel, Rails, Django, some of the frameworks that manage this rendering strategy. وهذه هي traditional SSR, server side rendering. كنريكويستي واحد لاباج كترجع لي لاباج بالداتا ديالها. Now we have what is good is we have dynamic data and pages. For example, if I have a list of products, if the product is ordered or something, we can update the data. So when the next user comes in, we return the correct data. But we need a server, and all interactions are page navigations again. Remember that this is we don't have a lot of JavaScript typically, and so ما عندناش بزاف الانتراكتيفيتي. فين ما نبغي نلودي some data كان send request للسيرفر هو اللي تيرد عليه. ما كان انتراجي with I don't have any interaction with any APIs. Cool. Just a quick note on these things. Had check marks or الcross. These are not bad or good. Just means that I have this is a pro, this is a con. It means again that إلا خدمت بهاد لا ميثود I have this and I don't have this, and أولا I need this ولا this is not for example maintaining a server ماشي مزيان. ما عنديش الانتراكشن في my page ماشي مزيان for the user of course. So it doesn't mean that ما نخدموش بها بهاد لا ميثود او لا بالاس بي اي ولا كل rendering strategy has its pros and cons and specific use cases. Next is SPA. So ملي كانوا عندنا multi page apps ما كانوش عندنا interactions. We tried with the jQuery and stuff to try and add some interactions, and also about this time we had client-side requests, so with fetch and etc. and jQuery, I think Ajax, sorry, Ajax. We started adding some interactions to the page with this strategy, which is NPA, multi-page apps, and that started to evolve a little bit, and then until we got single-page apps. It's this uses CSR, client-side rendering. We mentioned this in the beginning. So what we have is we have a shell. HTML خاوي. It's basically an empty page, but we have a script. This script is responsible to render هذيك data أو render the page on the client side. So the client requests the page, gets this empty shell, and then with the app the app code or JavaScript is the one responsible to actually load the data, load first the library that we're going to use to render Hadoop data, and then fetch the data we need. For example, if I'm in a shopping list, I'm going to fetch all of those items, and then actually render the list with the titles and images and buttons, etc. What's cool about this is just static or just files. We don't need servers. We just upload or host this anywhere we want, and then we slap a domain name on it, and we have an app. Let's see what do you call it? Kind of what happens on the browser. This is the top is the network. So when we go to a website or a page, this is what happens when we load an SPA on our browser. First, we get the index HTML. That's typically on the root of the website. And then, when we load this page, the browser sees this link, says, "Oh, I need an app.js or bundle.js." And then after loading all of this, the bundle.js request is sent. So after I get the HTML, I need now to get the JavaScript. Once all of the JavaScript is loaded from the request, and then we go now on the JavaScript side. This is what happens. So there are 3 steps. First one is we compile, not compile, sorry, read the JavaScript, understand what it does, and then we actually render the app. Once we render, what happens? These 2 steps are the layout and paint steps. So if you remember on the first slide, we talked about the browser flow, and on the 2 last steps, the browser lays out the render tree, so all of the elements on the top, the images, etc., and then paints them. These are the 2 steps. Two steps. So after the code is run, the browser now understands what it needs to do with the render tree. It كدير layout and then كدير paint. This is what happens on the SPA case. Take note of this because we will see SSR with rehydration what does. At the top here, we can show for FP, FCP, TTI. If you remember, we talked about this. This is the FP, the first paint. It typically happens after the HTML is loaded. So when the HTML is loaded, كيكون فيه some shell ولا div خاوية, etc. هذا هو first paint. It is considered the first paint even if the user ما كيشوفش كيكون داكشي ابيض ولا شي حاجه. اليوزر ما كيشوفش ولكن البراوزر it is considered as a first paint. امتى كنشوف الفيرست contentful paint after ملي كنرندري. سو كيدوز هذا الوقت كامل كنجيب الجافا سكريبت كنرندري الاب كندير اللاي اوت والبينت عاده كنشوف الاف سي بي الفيرست contentful paint. من بعد تي تي اي time to if you remember time to interactive كيكون قريب الاف سي بي في الكيس ديال الاس بي اي. Cool. Again, if you have any questions, please let me know, and I'll try to answer them momentarily. Okay. Next, SPAs have some pros and cons again. عندنا dynamic data and pages. علاش؟ حيت on the page we have the JavaScript is responsible to get the data from the backend. We don't need servers since this is just static files. The files are downloaded in the browser, and then the JavaScript gets the data from the server. So we don't need the server for the front end. Some downsides. The first one is GS bundle. This file, if it usually gets bigger and bigger مع الوقت. كنزيدوا الفيتشرز اتسيترا. كاع فيما كنزيدوا الفيتشرز في رياكت هذوك فريم وركس او اللايبريز كنزيدوا جافا سكريبت ديالنا. سو ما حدا كنزيدوا ما حد البندل كيتزاد ما حد باش نلودي هذاك الشيء كامل. It takes time. Second thing is this might not be good for SEO. So what is SEO? هي search engine optimization. Forgot to include it. So how does, for example, let's take Google as an example, كاين Bing, other search engines. كيفاش كيديروا باش ياندكسيو او لا يبينوا لك كاع هذوك الريزولتس في البيج. What they do is they have bots, Google bots. They go into your website, load it, and then read all of the HTML content, and depending on that content ديال HTML كيندكس. يعني مثلا if I look for Morocco FIFA World Cup كيمشي في كاع لي سيت. مثلا انا البلوك ديالي ما فيها حتى شي حاجه على الفيفا وورلد كاب. سو كيقول هذا اتس unrelated لهاد سيرش كويري. غادي يمشي مثلا كوره.com FIFA.com bein sport. These are the related pages. How does Google know that? Because in the HTML content there are some references to the search query ديال user. This is again simple. I'm not a Google search engineer, but this is basically the flow. And SPAs, if you remember, the first load, the first request, the HTML is empty. We don't have any data in the page. For Google, this is an empty page. I should not even consider it. This was the case. Google bots did not understand the JavaScript and did not execute it, but now they started doing that. So it might not be good for SEO because كاينين other search engines, Bing, DuckDuckGo, Brave, etc. They might not be supporting JavaScript to load. So the ideal case هي ملي نصيفط واحد الريكويست ديالي I get all of the data from the first load. Some of the libraries اللي manage ال SPAs هو React, Angular, Vue.js, كاين Svelte, كاين Solid.js, React, etc. There are a lot. هنا because of these things we tried doing both SSR, traditional SSR with Laravel ولا سميتو, but do something different with hydration. We mentioned hydration in the floor. We said hydration is when the JavaScript takes over the page and then hydrates, adds the event listeners to the page. So now if we see here, I want to get the first blog post. When I go to the server returns a blog post with the actual content. Now what's different from the traditional SSR is we also upload or download. The browser also downloads the bundle او الاب ديالنا الاب كود ديالنا. What does this do is essentially re-render هذيك la page and then adds all of the events after that. So هنايا we have only the HTML and CSS. We can show to the user the blog post, but there are no interactions. Why? Because after that we download the bundle, and then the bundle renders the app, or our framework renders the app layouts and page, and then we can have the page as interactive. في الاول كانت الاف سي بي هنايا، ولكن دابا ولات هنايا. علاش؟ because on the first load we have some data, so we can show to the user a contentful page. And now the FP or first panes is not mentioned here because they are on top of each other. The FCP is more important. This is server-side rendering with hydration. So the server returns la page عامرة بالداتا، فيها البلوج بوست ديالنا، لي تكست اكسيتيرا، لي زيماج. ومن بعد كان داونلود الجافا سكريبت as well, and then we render the app. After all of this, the time to interactive is also late, but we got the FCP from here to here. These are some of the most popular frameworks that can do SSR with hydration. They are often called meta frameworks. علاش meta framework? Because كيبيلدي on top of another library. For example, Next.js works with React.js, Nuxt.js works with Vue.js, SvelteKit works with Svelte. So you can see that كاين واحد library كيجي واحد الفريمورك او الميتا فريمورك اللي كيبيلدي on top of the original library. Now in terms of هادو dynamic data pages, data or pages, we have les pages ديالنا dynamic والداتا حتى هي dynamic. And now for SEO, الى جا جوجل بوت ولا any other bot، في الفيرست لود عندنا كاع الداتا اللي ديال لاباج. Now we need servers for this. باش ان سيرفر يجاوب هذاك request, we need a server, and then the TTI is still slow because of the hydration. حيت كتكون عندنا الداتا, we download the bundle and then we rehydrate. As a response for this, if you see from the beginning till دابا, in each strategy كيكون عندنا واحد استراتيجي كنستراغليو اولا كيكون عندنا واحد تشالنج اولا بغينا نحيدوا واحد داون سايد. في الاول كانت عندنا static sites مزيانه, we have websites now, we can link between sites, but ما عندناش des interactions, ما عندناش dynamic data. شنو هو الحل؟ هو واحد الفريم ورك في الباك اند هو اللي تيجينيري، تنقول ليه عطيني هاد الداتا، هاد لاباج تيعطيها ليا واجده اتس دايناميك. مزيان. احتاجينا سيرفر. في قبل ما كانش عندنا سيرفر، so that's okay, but all interactions, most of the interactions are page navigations. بغينا شي حاجه خفف منها. من بعد شفنا SPAs، عاوتاني ولينا كنصيفطوا كنهوستيو static files. That's good, we don't need a server, and it's dynamic. علاش؟ حيت JavaScript takes charge of rendering هذيك لاباج. Now we are facing another issue, which is big.js bundle و SEO خرجنا عليه. So now we need to calibrate as well. دونك اش درنا؟ رجعنا للسيرفر سايد ريندرين وقلنا علاش دابا ما نديروهمش بجوج. سيرفر سايد ريندرين دونك في الاي سي او في هذيك لاباج الاولى غادي يكون عندنا كاع الداتا اللي نحتاجو، ولكن من بعد نداونلوديو حتى جافا سكريبت ونكملوا الاكسبيرينس ديالنا as an SPA بحال الاس بي اي. and this is the case actually في Next.js, Nuxt و SvelteKit ولا other meta framework. This is what happens. كان داونلوديو الفيرست بيج، كداونلوديو جافا سكريبت، ومن بعد الاكسبيرينس ديال اليوزر كتولي اس بي اي. الا لاحظتوا الترانزيشنز ايتترا كيكونوا خفاف بحال اس بي اي من غير لاباج الاولى، دابا مزيان. سيرفر سايد ريندرين وي هاف rehydration but we still need the server and the time to interactive is slow. Now we need another way. دابا for server side rendering كتجي الريكويست كنبيلديو لاباج عادة نردوها. for static site generation we generate كاع هذيك لي باج. so هنا فين غادي يجي البري rendering. In this strategy all the pages are pre-rendered at build time to capture its initial state as static HTML pages, and after the initial page the JavaScript hydrates the page. هنايا كاين البري rendering كنبري ريندريو في البيلد تايم. so الى شفنا هنايا كيكون عندي السورس ديالي الكومبوننتس الابس البيجز كاع داكشي اللي بغيت. عندي الاب ديالي بجافا سكريبت از ان اس بي اي، ولكن ملي تنبغي ندير البيلد ما تنبيلديش غير جافا سكريبت وهاني ساليت، but I actually كنبيلدي كاع لي باج اللي بغيت. for example if I have a blog post 5 blog posts في هاد البيلد فولدر في هاد البيلد فولدر غادي نلقى بلوج 1 بلوج 2 بلوج 3 اتسيتيرا على حسب كل لايبراري كيفاش كيجيري الحاجه هادي، وكنلقى جافا سكريبت حتى هو. سو كنبيلدي لي باج ديالي كاملين وكنهوستيهم. ما كنهوستيوش لابليكاسيون كامله، كنهوستي غير هاد البيلد. سو من بعد كان ابلودي اولا كنهوستي غير هذاك البيلد فولدر، كنهوستي في اي فين ما بغيت، كنسلاب دومين and we have a website. now الى it's the same as SSR، غير هو هادوك كاع لي باج ديالنا كيكونوا بري ريندرد، يعني عندنا في السيرفر ما كنحتاج سيرفر باش نرندريو. Again, the same meta frameworks might also do static SSG. It's called SSG as a short, but these meta frameworks can also do static site generation. Next.js SvelteKit. There is also Gatsby at other frameworks. ما درتهمش هنايا علاش؟ حيت for example هادو they do multiple things at once. They do SSG, they do SSR with rehydration. غادي نشوفوا incremental static generation. So they do multiple things. These are the most popular now. Gatsby is losing popularity حيت كيدير غير ال SSG بود. Now we have simple hosting. علاش؟ حيت كنجينيريو كاع الفايلز. اش غادي ندير static files نحطهم في سيرفر، وعندنا app like experience بحال الاس بي ايز كنحطوه كنلقاو الاكسبيرينس ديالنا اس بي اي خفيفه. من بعد عندنا الانتراكشنز كاع the good stuff اللي هضرنا عليه. but we need to redeploy on data changes. going back to the block example، الا كان عندي 5 د البلوك وزدت واحد اخر، خصني نعاود نديبلوي نجينيري كاع لي باج كاع لي بلوك من 1 حتى ل 6 ونابلوديهم عاوتاني. I need to redeploy on every data change. To resolve هاد الاشيو او التشالنج ديال redeploy on data changes، دار اولا كنعرف for now غير Next.js اللي كيدير هاد incremental static generation or Vercel to be precise. It's like static generation but on data changes لا we revalidate هذاك generation after واحد period of time. Let's take an example ديال البلوج. now ساليت البلوج ديالي، عندي 6 ديال البلوكس، وصلنا ل 6 بوشيت. من بعد زدت بلوك اخر what happens هو اليوزر كيجي لشي بلوك من 1 حتى ل 6 السيرفر كيقول لك مزيان هذا عندي تنرجع تيجي واحد اليوزر البلوك رقم 7 تيقول ويت هذا ما عنديش عندي من 1 حتى ل 6 7 ما عنديش كيمشي كيشوف واش عندي شي داتا جديده كيزيدها مزيان. هذه في حاله زدنا بلوك بوست اخر فور اكزامبل الا كان عندنا في هذاك البلوك بوست درت واحد لو شونجمون درت ابديت تهضرت على شي لايبراري ودرت ابديت هذاك من 1 حتى ل 7 فيما كيجي واحد اليوزر كيمشي للبلوك رقم 4 الاس اس السيرفر ديجا عنده هذاك البلوك رقم 4 تيرجع ليه ريكويست ولكن in the background كيمشي كيريفاليدي هذاك الداتا كيقول واش هذا البلوك باقي هو ولا لا كان باقي هو مزيان كان تبدل كيحيد الكاش وتيرد داتا جديده كيعاود يجينيري غير هذيك لاباج رقم 4 و the next user اللي غيجي لهاد لاباج او the same user refreshes كتجيه الداتا جديد. This is incremental static generation. We generate all of the pages at build time. We pre-render all of the pages, and then after each user requests an endpoint or a page, the server or the framework revalidates هذيك الداتا ديال هذيك لاباج. Now we have a couple of other strategies. We will go one by one since we don't have much time. We are at 40 minutes. I don't want to make this a long one. Next one is progressive hydration. If you remember, what is hydration? It's basically loading the page, and then after that, the JavaScript loads all of the pages after that. And progressive hydration, what it does is it hydrates part of the page. Imagine I'm at Amazon and Amazon is using progressive hydration. When I go in the first page of an item, what I see is only the things that are hydrated. The things that are below my screen, after I scroll, that's not hydrated. So if I click on something at the bottom, sorry, you see my screen, yes. This is the screen. I'm in a mobile phone. Let's take an actual mobile phone. So this page until here, it's hydrated. Below the fold, it's not hydrated. So when the user scrolls, the app starts hydration of the thing that is below the fold. Why we do this? Because as we saw, the bundle is big and the page is also big. So we only hydrate the first part and then we can click. Once the user scrolls down, the app starts hydrating section by section. Streamer server-side rendering. So now when we talk about only server-side rendering, the request goes to the server constructs all of the HTML and then send it back to the user. In streaming, we can actually stream or streaming as in something that's continuous. So we can, for example, if I have a blog post, I have 3 sections. In SSR, we render all of the 3 sections and then send the response to the user. In streaming, we can send the data to the user as soon as it's rendered, as it's ready. So if I have 3 sections, the first section is ready, we stream it to the user. So the user sees the first section. We move on to this next section, we send it to the user, and we go on until the page is fully sent back to the user. Again, streaming كنصيفط لاباج سيكشن باي سيكشن، فيما كان رندري شي حاجه او السيرفر كيرندري شي حاجه كيصيفطها لليوزر باش اليوزر كيبدا يشوف شويه بشويه. when we can see this is GitHub. الى رديتوا البال كانت كونيكسيون شويه ثقيله، السيكشنز كيبانوا لك شويه بشويه، الى رديتي البال غادي تشوفها. and this is done من سميتو شحال هذه GitHub implemented streaming شحال هذه، and React and Next.js etc. started adopting this streaming, and it can be done with Next.js. Selective hydration is kind of like progressive hydration, but as the name suggests, it's selective. So we hydrate غير some parts of the page. For example, let's take Amazon. For example, we don't need to hydrate the description of the item. We only need, for example, the buy button and the sliding images. So we select some parts of the app. هذوك بوحدهم هما اللي كنديروا لهم الهايدريشن. Islands architecture. This is kind of new, and it is like selective hydration, but the thinking behind islands is a little bit different. Again, let's take an Amazon product. كيفاش غادي مثلا implementيو islands architecture. islands زين جزيره، island راه كتكون بوحدها. so هذيك الايلاند بوحدها اللي فيها جافا سكريبت كود. I remember one library او لا framework اللي كيدير هذه هي Astro Build. it's astro.io. كيفاش كيخدم Astro؟ Astro كتكون عندك الباج ديالك، ومن بعد كتزيد واحد الكومبوننت سواء I think Astro كيسيبورتي React.js و Vue.js و other frameworks، but غير واحد البارتيه. فور اكزامبل الا خدينا ليكزامبل ديال امازون، غير هذاك السلايدر ديال لي زيماج هو اللي اب. اذروايز كاع الاذر كونتنت از عادي HTML كيجي من السيرفر. this about wrap setup. هضرنا على 9 ديال strategies: static website, SSR server side rendering, SPAs او لا single page applications, MPAs او لا multiple page apps. وهضرنا على SSR with hydration. I think numbering غلط, but yeah, we have talked about these 5 in details, and we have had only they kind of are new. They are not some frameworks or libraries started supporting these. They are cool to see. It's cool to see what the web is, because it's evolving day by day, and we see all of these exciting technologies with these strategies: incremental static generation, progressive hydration, streaming, selective hydration, and islands architecture. All of this is if you اللي تبعنا من الاول. في الاول كان ابلوديو ولا كان ديبلويو some static files، ما كنحتاجو السيرفر. من بعد كنحتاجو السيرفر، من بعد كنرندريو في الكلاينت سايد، من بعد كنرجعوا للسيرفر سايد. علاش ديما تنرجعوا للسيرفر؟ mainly of these are had 3 reasons من ما بين other reasons. كاين البرفورمانس، حيت الكلاينت سايد او السيرفر سايد الفرق بيناتهم هو البرفورمانس in terms of network. السيرفر typically it's connected with an internet with a connection, high speed connection. so it doesn't need it doesn't suffer from our case اللي يكون عندي تليفون او لا بي سي او لا واي فاي 3G 4G etc. So the server has good connection, so the data is good. Another thing is the server is typically able to render a lot of pages at one time. It has a fast processor. بالعكس ديالنا حنا تليفون قديم تليفون جديد بي سي قديم بي سي جديد بي سي فيه ما عرفتش انستالي فيه فوتوشوب انستالاتور ما عرفتش كندير اخر براوزي الويب. سو هذاك البروسيسور كيعيا اولا ما قادش يرندري as performance of a page الى ترندرات في السيرفر. Second point is ACO. We talked about this. We need good the data on the page on the first load so that we can have better ACO. Data fetching. So علاش كنرندريو again في السيرفر حيت ملي هذيك الداتا تنخليوها حتى الكلاينت سايد تنزيدوا الوقت او حيت مثلا فور اكزامبل كنلودي لاباج غادي تحتاج واحد الباندل دوت جي اس. في هذيك الباندل دوت جي اس كنزيد نريكويستي ما عرفتش بوت ستراب ولا شي حاجه كيمشي كيلودي البوت ستراب اتسيتيرا اتسيتيرا اتسيتيرا. كيبقى هذاك الواتر فول اللي تيقولوا ليه ذا واتر فول ديال النيتورك عاد تزيد عليه جافا سكريبت تايم. سو هذيك الداتا فيتشين وهذيك الواتر فول كنحاولوا نقصوه الا كنا في السيرفر حيت كنكونوا عارفين شكون هو اليوزر الداتا الباز دوني عندنا كلها وكل باج اش كتحتاج الداتا نقدروا نباراليزيو كاع هذوك الداتا فيتشرز في السيرفر نرندريو داكشي عاد نردوه لليوزر. This is an amazing talk, rendering on the web. It was on Google I/O 2019. Please check it out. They do an amazing job at going through the different strategies ديال web from SSR to client side, and they go through هذوك trade-offs اللي we make in adopting each strategy, and they also talk about performance SEO data fetching. As we come to the end of this talk, I just wanted to share ahead. I shared it in my previous talk, and I want to share it again. علاش? Because when we say front end, some people say it's just pushing pixels around, it's just adding a button to a page, and it's to be ماشي بالضروره خصك تكون عارف كاع هادشي اللي مكتوب هنايا، ولكن it's what do you call it is a front end. الا بغيتي تكون واحد الفرونت اند زوين خص يكون عندك all of these ماشي all of these, most of these you at least know something from everything. خصك تكون عارف شويه من كل شيء وواحد الحاجه تكون عارف فيها كل شيء. So we can see here internet, HTML, CSS, JavaScript as we get started. But some security knowledge, package managers, CSS architectures, preprocessors. We go to the build tools, pick a framework, and then you can learn a framework deal JavaScript, linters, and formatters, task runners, multiple bundlers. كيفاش كيدار المودرن CSS او CSS frameworks اللي كاينين دابا. authentication strategies حيت في الفرونت اند خصك اوثنتيفي واحد اليوزر. So you need authentication strategies with components اللي كاينين دابا instead of بحال الكومبوننتس اللي كنخدموا بهم في reactive view كاين native components to the web. progressive web apps, server side rendering, static site generations اللي هضرنا عليهم دابا. GraphQL الا بغيتي تانتيغاجي مع الاي بي اي. mobile applications. So إلا كنتي خدام في الفرونت اند في React for example تقدر دوز الموبايل application and then desktop application as well. and then you can keep learning. هاد الرود ماب تقدر تلقاها في roadmap.sh/frontend او كاين لينك هنايا في سلايدز. So what this does is give you, for example, I'm learning HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Then what do I do next? I'm a mid front-end engineer. I'm good with JavaScript. I'm good with everything, but I feel like, well, what's the next step for me to go to be a senior engineer? Part of this stepping stone is to know, try to go through the roadmap, checky item by item. You can في هذا السيت هذا you can check the items. I know this, check. And then, by the way, this is not all my checks. This is just from the the site. You can actually click on these items and say, I got this one. And it gives you a little bit of an overview of your knowledge about front-end. Again, مزيانة هذه باش تكون عندنا. إلا بغينا مثلا أنا ميد انجينير في الفرونت اند، كيفاش نقدر ندوز للنكست ستيب ديالي، شنو هما الجابس ديال النوليدج، شنو هما الحوايج اللي خاويين عندي في الفرونت اند، نمشي نكليكي. المزيانه فين ما كتكليكي على شي ايتم كيعطيك ريسورسز، فيديوز، ارتيكلز اي كان ريد، اي كان نطبق هذوك اللعيبات باش نتعلم هذيك الحاجه. Please check it. Highly recommend this to everyone. Again, these are some resources اللي I used and you can use too. If you need more resources, please let me know. I can share more articles. And thank you everyone for being here. If you have any questions, please let me know. Let's give it some 5 minutes and then we can close if we don't have any questions. Hamid says thank you for being here and attending the talk. I hope everyone got at least some knowledge. غير إلا عرفتي حاجة وحدة جديدة، هذا الخير والبركة. Huda says it's years of interviews preparation as well. Yes. بصح إلى كنتي في انترفيو وما عرفتيش اش غادي توجد، تقدر تجي لهنايا ووجد هاد اللعيبات هادو. And so hey, Susie says thank you. Hey Said, thank you Said for being here. Again, if you have questions تقدروا تسولوني هنايا او لا في تويتر، لينكدين ولا شي، ولا الايميل كاع. I will respond ولكن I might نقدر نتعطل. Cool. I think that's about a wrap up. Thank you everyone for being here. And باش نكلوزيو، VDG is doing events all around the year. You can actually join the community باش يوصلك كل شيء. And also you can follow us on social media. I post the link اللي فيه everything about us, social media, the websites, and you'll see كاع les informations اللي غادي تحتاجوا تما. Thank you for being here and see you in the next one. See you. Bye.